Magic the Gathering has recently rolled out a new wave of secret lairs in a brand new partnership with PlayStation. Several fan favorite video game series have now entered the world of Commander as not just reprints, however, but their own mechanically unique creatures, designed to lead their own fittingly unique types of decks. As always with secret lairs, you could only get them online. And as always, they've been bought out and immediately scalped on the internet. Or more specifically as recording this, two of them, actually. But one in particular stood out to me as one that frankly sold out faster than I think I've ever seen a secret lair go. If you had to ask me to guess which one, my money would have been on God of War, not Ghost of Tsushima, which, despite being the newest IP of the bunch, flew away within the hour it was listed. Quick side note, before I did this video, I genuinely thought Ghost of Tsushima came out like 2 years ago. It's been 5 years now. That was the year we had Thassa's Oracle, which feels like it's been in Commander forever at this point. I just really feel old now at this point, if I'm being honest, but anyway, I digress. So what is so special about Jin Sakai here? Aside from being arguably and aesthetically the most magic card of the bunch released, whatever that means nowadays, he offers a brand new playstyle to the colors he's in. For 4 mana, Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima, provides a very powerful benefit to your creatures so long as they are attacking alone. This effect is unique to each player, meaning often you will be aiming to attack each of your opponents with a single high power creature, choosing to give it double strike to deal exceptionally high amounts of damage at an early point in your Commander game. If your opponents start to assemble a wall of defenders, you can instead give it unblockable to ensure a lower but more consistent amount of damage too. Jin himself, aside from enhancing all your creatures, also draws cards, which with double strike amounts to 2 instances of combat damage, and therefore 2 cards, should he be one of the creatures you swing in with. With all this in mind, as your commander, Jin pushes Esper into a new type of playstyle focused on early aggression through high power creatures, before closing out the mid-game by using said high power alongside Jin's ability to give double strike to effectively blow up the table. In this vid, I will be discussing 2 versions of the deck I've built, starting with a budget version. Oh my god. Starting with a budget version priced at around $100 and featuring all the cards included in the Ghost of Tsushima secret lair, before discussing some hefty upgrades you can slowly incorporate into the deck to really make it into a true menace. As always with these, links to both decks and the full lists can be found in the description, and to make these as playable as possible on many tables as possible, I have refrained from putting in any game changes in either list. This way, you can add the game changes you want to suit the bracket you are playing. It goes without saying, however, both of these decks are made with the intent to be as efficient and as competitive as possible. And being an aggro deck, you will very often find yourself in the driver's seat and the villain of your table when you play this, especially in lower bracket games. So just because it's technically a bracket 2 deck list doesn't mean it can't crush a bracket 3 one. With that out of the way, let's talk staples and game plan. As I mentioned, the secret lair itself gives us 5 cards, which aside from Jin himself, don't really push us in a particular direction. Castle Shimura is probably the least exciting of the bunch, being effectively a plains with a minor upside. Path to Exile is a generally useful creature removal and ramp that primarily slows down an opponent setting up a problematic creature. Ghostly Flicker is often used in blink decks, but here functions as a way to protect your permanents when your opponents attempt to remove them. Then, lastly, Born Upon a Wind is generally used as a combo card that here instead can be used to cantrip and bring in your commander or any other creature right before you start your turn. These cards aren't particularly synergistic to the game plan of the deck, but are broadly useful, enough so that we can make good use of them here. So let's talk about the cards that directly matter to our game plan. As I mentioned earlier, we are an aggro deck, meaning our game plan pre-getting our commander out is simple but crucial to the success of the deck. By the time we play Jin, we want at least 1, if not 2, other creatures on the board ready to attack immediately. That way, when we play Jin, we can immediately use his attack trigger to give them double strike. Naturally, with Jin being a 4-mana card, we want to jam our deck with cheap costed creatures with high power to ensure that with Double Strike, we hit hard. Take Sunset Saboteur here as a great example of a recently printed and powerful card for this deck. For 2 mana, you get 4 power and menace, and can use the 1/1 counters as a potential bargaining chip to make a possible friend at the table who you save for last. Flesh Reaver and Cecil, Dark Knight, are 2 more high power, low mana cost creatures which hurt you as they deal damage. But this generally means nothing when your goal is to close the game out as quickly as possible anyway. The absolute MVPs, however, to get down early for Jin to give Double Strike are hands down Hunted Horror, which can be a whopping 14 damage in a single attack, or Unstoppable Slasher, who thanks to Double Strike can immediately halve an opponent's current life total twice, putting them down to less than a quarter of their life in a single combat. Beyond just raw high power, we can also make great use of equipment that not only buffs creatures' attack further, such as Colossal Hammer, but also provides useful damage bonuses when you deal combat damage, like Ninja's Blades. It can be emphasized how much giving Double Strike to a creature can really break buffs and combat damage effects. With all this equipment, and being in white, we can absolutely take advantage of cards like Pure Steel Paladin and Kemba Car Enduring. As we continue upgrading past the budget version, this also gets stronger as we can look to include Sigarda's Aid, Forge Anew, Stoneforge Mystic, and even Cloud Strife himself. But there'll be more on this in a bit. To keep us from running out of steam, we support our high power creatures with recursive threats. We can equip up Blood-Soaked Champion, and 2025's recipient for coolest card name, Timeline Color. We also make extensive use of creatures that draw cards whenever we deal damage. I'm talking about Malcolm, Silent Hall Creeper, Gix, Curie, and of course Jin himself. All this card draw, keep in mind, is doubled when these creatures deal combat damage as long as they have Double Strike. And with all this card draw, Psychosis Crawler makes for the perfect top end to make for a literally lethal amount of card draw. These cards I've mentioned so far are all included in the budget list, which together form an aggressive and resilient deck capable of blowing the table out early, or staying ahead in the mid game and ending with a single explosive attack. But now, let's talk about how we upgrade it further, and what we can do when we have some more infamous Magic cards at our disposal. When building this deck, my advice will be to start with the budget build and progressively upgrade it with some of the cards you see here. But if you truly want to go hard, here's how. The core game plan of the upgraded variant remains exactly the same. Early creatures and ramp, then play into Jin onto a board where you can deal big damage. The key difference now is the tricks we can pull off. For instance, rather than relying on sheer stats and equipment, we can now look to utilize cheap and fast-growing threats, such as Ledger Shredder, a flying creature capable of growing incredibly rapidly and being supercharged by Double Strike. We also have Psychic Frog, which even just mentioning will scare a good portion of the Legacy crowd, as this little guy can be pumped to massive numbers, especially with the excess amount of cards you will be drawing. We also benefit from newer combat trick creatures in Tiny Bones, who can let us steal 2 cards from opponents' graveyards, and Grim Hireling, who can make us as many as 4 treasures in a single double creature strike. One of the other benefits of upgrading the deck also means we get to run the best card draw engine printed in the last 2 years for Blue in Enduring Curiosity, which not only uniquely draws you cards for each creature that deals combat damage, but then comes back as an enchantment when destroyed. Finally, for our creature base, Shelly makes an excellent inclusion in her most recent 2 printings, with the ability to remove a threat from each opponent and flip into a game-winning saga, and for her infamous Apocalypse variant's incredibly punishing burn effect on players who are digging for an answer, or otherwise just normally playing the game. Over on the equipment half of the game plan, we acquire some nasty new tools in both Umezawa's and the Lost Jite. 2 unique pieces of equipment that synergize very well with Double Strike as they create charge counters when you deal damage each time. Additionally, in secret cards you haven't heard of that are perfect for this deck, Kamigawa gave us an equipment card called Oathkeep that has specific synergy with Samurai, making it arguably one of the best equipment to stick to your new commander. With all this new equipment, we bring in new tutoring and free equip effects I mentioned earlier, letting us make use of Vorpal Sword as well as an alternative late game win con. Unsurprisingly, to ensure we get to enact our plan, we now run some of the best interaction in Commander, with premier and flexible spot removal like Deadly Rollick, Sink into Stupor, and Void Rend. Toxic Deluge and Dam clean up if we fall behind, and we also run multiple efficient counterspells along with Flawless Maneuver to protect our permanents. All this leaves us with a ruthlessly fast and efficient list designed to handle plenty of different strategies while running over them with its own. At the end of the day, this is just my take on how you can run this commander, and if anything, is meant as a general guide of what you can expect from Jin here. If there's a pet card you want to run or would prefer, use it, go nuts. It's Commander. Who cares if it isn't optimal? If you made it to this point in the video, thanks 1,000 times over. This is a brand new format for this channel, and as something I'm looking forward to making more of. This is where I would put a shameless plug to subscribe for more content. I like to cover Commander as well as other format and card games. And let me know if there is a Commander you'd like to see me cover next. Till then, see you in the next one. Cheers.